Hey guys, Scott Hogan coming at you here. So we were just out teaching our clinics this morning and I decided I had to come back to the space that I teach out of, my studio, and we've been doing a lot of changes to it. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I get so many questions about dimensions, how have I done everything? So I figured we'd just take a look, give you the little tour, and go from there. So let's do it. Beautiful. Always good when you come back from being outside. You got the mail. Always toss them on. Very cool. So here is the studio as it is. Okay. So we come in, you get right in here. First thing we have is our putting room. Okay, so this is just a 14 by, I believe it's 9 across, a little room. Let's just show it to you here a little bit. When we're looking at this room, we just put the X putt in here. You know, we do a lot of short putting, stuff like that we can work on. Used to have a Sam Putt Lab, but I just like the X putt better. I'm just somebody that likes when you can play for scores and things like that, as opposed to trying to make your stroke as perfect as possible. The ground here is really just a floor that we built up, and actually wasn't too bad to do. Had some big time help, but took 5 hours maybe to build it up and then drill the holes in. But it's just like building a wall. You build a frame and put all the supports in the middle, plywood on top, and you can see, I mean, no filler, pretty good in how that cut sets down. Actually really happy with how it turned out. And then the turf is from, I believe it's Turf Depot or something online, and this is their good putting turf. It's got the little pad underneath, but works good. Lets us work on a little putting. We always have TVs. I think TVs in here. I have everything with Roku for TVs, because when you have those Rokus, you're able to actually be able to look and kind of look at everything and see. You can put stuff on the screen, stuff like that. So come back, get into our main hitting area. You can see we've actually done a little bit of work, so you can see all the work we did. We took a bunch of stuff off the walls. So hopefully this will serve as a little help for all of you, because we're doing some trial and error as we're going through this. It's been a couple years in the making, but I finally feel like we've got it down to what you actually absolutely need in a space and to make it successful. So we've gone to a 2-base setup just because of, one, social distancing. You can see my lights. That's where I do some of the other YouTube stuff, or my rounds when I play them. That's where we have the Mevo Plus, which is actually sitting right over here. We were just out at camp. It worked beautifully outside for camp. I was super happy with how that worked to go along with our Mevo, which we've got over here, just the regular Mevo. We've got our regular Mevo. We've got our 4D motion, some iPads that we hook up to these live views. Love the live views, because we hook them up to the iPad. When you hook them up to the iPad, you can put them onto any of the screens if I need to show something bigger. It works. You can see the whole screen. It's only like 7-8 feet, and you do that, but it's excellent. Works really good. Here's our bays. So our bays, I always get asked about dimensions, stuff like that. So you can see we've got screens. We've turned them now where they are 10 foot across and the screen is 8 foot high. Now you can see that doesn't get all the way to the bottom. We have up at the top here, we do have 9.6 height for this net. Now it does hang down a little bit, so it's probably not all the way to 9.6. And we do have a little overlap on the floor. That way, stop some of the lower shots that you'll hit. You can see with our netting and what I did, we had a frame originally. I just couldn't be comfortable with the frame. One thing to think about when you're building this out is what will happen is it's going to happen, right? Or what can happen will happen, right? So, like you can see, we took these light bulbs out. Those are water lines. We've actually done a ton of testing up there to make sure they don't get hit, and they've yet to be hit, knock on wood. But the lights, we said, all right, those got to go. You would think not people aren't going to pop it up into it. They do. So you just have to be very, very conscious of what's going on and think about where the ball can go. Literally, the first shot, when this place was built, I had somebody come help me build it. I was at Pebble Beach, playing Pebble Beach. You can see we got cameras in here. And I was watching them build it on the camera. I watched them, they called me, and we were waiting out there, and the first shot was hitting here by the guy that put up our frame at first. And it ended up right in the wall. And there's a bunch of marks over there. You'll see them. I mean, it's going to happen. So I think when people build out stuff, you know, they're like, oh, I'll build out this small frame and everything's gonna be good. I mean, if you're gonna plan on having anybody else hit, you know, it happens to the best of us where we can top one or hit with a shank or something. So just be wary of that. Think about where the ball can go. And again, so this is 9.6 high. We have no issues with height. The bays themselves are 13.5 wide. Let's bring you back here so you can see 13.5 wide. So pretty comfortable for a righty-lefty scenario in both the bays, but it would be a little tight. If I had to do it perfectly, I'd try to get like 16 wide in each bay. We just don't have the space for that. So, you know, 13.5 is what it is. It works pretty good. We do have from the middle of our hitting area back to the wall, we measured that out. That is exactly 8 feet, okay? And that gives us 8.5 feet to hit into the screen. We get really good results with that. When we need to putt, we just move a little bit. Now, one thing we are gonna do that I wanna do is you can see our hitting turf, we just have a line, because again, we used to have 3 bays in here. Now I've got this extra mat. What I wanna do is cut it up into 1-foot strips and put that in the middle of the 2 stance mats. So we'll have the Mevo Pluses lined up, 1-foot strip, and then actually take another 1-foot strip and put it out here so you can putt down the 1-foot strip. I think that's gonna be pretty cool because you're working on your putting anyway. The one thing I find hard when you're sim putting is you're just kind of whacking away, you know, straight ahead and hoping that it works out, where I can work on start line, try to roll it down that 1-foot strip. Plus it helps the Mevo Plus having a little bit more roll. So we did test out having just a regular mat in front. We had the whole mat. It worked better for Mevo Plus putting, so that's where we're gonna go with it and try that out. But that's our bay. You know, being 8.5 feet away, we don't run into too many issues with balls. You know, sometimes people will hit like the very top of the netting there with like a wedge. But again, we try to work on that. We work on tons of wedges because, you know, if you're hitting a wedge properly, you should not go over this net by any means if you're hitting it properly. So it's a good way to work. But we have everything on iPads. You can see up on the top, there's our projectors. Just a normal $300 projector from Epson. It works great in here. There is a Apple TV. We have both of these on Apple TVs. You can see iPad holders over there. When we have the iPads in here, we run them there. I love it because when we need to, we will actually put swings up. We can use, like I use an iPad to analyze swings. We can put swings up on the big screen. We can put movies up there. We can do whatever. I mean, I just like having the ability to put stuff on screens. That's why we have these TVs. Again, these are Roku TVs, which you can send Apple stuff to or watch TV or whatever as well, just for entertainment. So that's kind of it. And then we had kind of this back run right here. You had 8 foot of room. So then we just made like a little chipping run. We have some rough mats here and just made a little chipping run, hit some basic bump and runs. But yeah, I mean, we've gotten this down to some pretty bare bones stuff. I mean, I used to have, you know, monitors down, all this stuff, and, you know, learning to utilize the space on the walls and, you know, utilizing newer technology. I get a lot of questions, why don't I use like the PC software? I mean, I just love how clean that looks over there with just having an iPad holder. Now that monitor there is actually a touchscreen monitor, so if I do ever use the PC, if I brought one in, I could use that. You can actually see there's an Ethernet cable down on the ground that's plugged in. If we ever wanted to do that, it could be done. I mean, for me, the ideal of just a cleaner look, simpler look, and, you know, I don't feel like I'm trading up or trading down too much in the graphics department. So I'd rather just keep it on the iPad, super simple. Apple TV, you know, being able to work with cords and make that simpler, it's so much easier. And just something as you're building your setup, you want to think about where are all these cords and stuff going to run. Because again, you start getting kind of expensive when you have to start buying 30, 40 foot HDMI cords or extenders and all that stuff. It starts to really add up. So again, stuff to think about as you're going. But if you have questions about the setup, let me know. Again, I get so many already, but I just wanted to share with you what works really well. The stuff you're seeing in the videos, you'll see them coming up in the future. So you'll be able to see how it works for me. And hopefully this helps you when you're making your decision on what to buy and how you're gonna do your setup, okay? So again, any questions, post those down in the comments below. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you in the next video. If you're not a subscriber, click that subscribe button. Peace.